Here I am, in this tiny room, trying everything I can to extinguish this gloom. Every day just fucking bleeds into the next. When does it end? When can I rest? Most days I feel lonely, some days I feel depressed. I should really talk to someone and get this shit off my chest. I want to keep fighting, I want to persist, but sometimes I struggle to see more to life than this. The Cat Lady is a 2D point-and-click horror adventure game developed by Harvester Games and released in 2012 for PC. The Cat Lady is the second title in a trilogy of video games known as the Devil Came True Here trilogy. Characters from Harvester's previous game, Downfall, also make an appearance in The Cat Lady, although you don't have to have played that game to understand this one. They are entirely different stories for the most part. The Cat Lady was well received by critics upon its initial release, with praise mostly being directed towards its story and characters. However, some critics thought the game had a little bit too much backtracking, and some also had issues with the game's controls. Over time, the game would amass a massive cult following, with many people claiming The Cat Lady to be easily one of the greatest games ever made. I would also share that sentiment. There are very few issues I have with The Cat Lady. It's a fucking masterpiece as far as I'm concerned, and its story is still one of the most unforgettable and heartbreaking tales ever written for a video game. However, I also have to clarify that this game won't be for everyone, as it covers very intense subject matter, like suicide, depression, murder, infanticide, cancer, and also the game has a metric shit ton of blood and gore. The Cat Lady is one of the few 18 plus rated games where I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't play this if you're not an adult. It feels like a game made by adults for adults, which is very rare to see in this medium. To me, I liken The Cat Lady to something like Requiem for a Dream, in that they are both really powerful and memorable experiences that will stay with me for the rest of my life. They are also both really fucking funny. If you have ever suffered from depression or suicidal thoughts, then The Cat Lady will probably resonate with you a great deal and might even become one of your favourite games of all time. I personally learned so much about the different ways people deal with depression from playing this game. The same way I learned so much about what women want in a man from watching Andrew Tate videos.
To him. Neither will any other female. So for women to come along and pretend they give a about the fact that most men are basically invisible.
Be mentally disabled. In The Cat Lady, you play as a middle-aged woman named Susan Ashworth. At the beginning of the game, Susan is in a very bad place mentally and has decided that taking her own life is the only way to end her suffering.
Some would say it's a lonely life, and I guess that's true, but I don't like people's company. Not lately, anyway. I only trust my cats these days, and I will miss them dearly, but they will understand, like they always have. Teacup stays with me till the end. He watches me, as if he knew. Because earlier tonight, I swallowed a whole bunch of pills. They're legal, of course, prescribed by my doctor for my sleeping problems. But I've taken 34 of them, all I could find in the cupboard, and now the room around me spins in a blurry tango as my heart slows down.
I found this opening cutscene to be very effective at drawing me into this world. Despite not knowing a single thing about Susan by this point in the story, I still wanted to know what drove her to overdose on sleeping pills. What drove her to want to end it all? Well, even though Susan longs for death, she does not get her wish. We both have that in common, I guess. Instead, she awakens in a beautiful field with no idea of how she got there. She begins to explore the area and realizes that something is very wrong with this place. She encounters some disturbing imagery and even finds her dead body hanging from a tree. It almost feels like this place is trying to mentally torture Susan. Almost like she's in purgatory or something, but she just hasn't realized it yet. After solving some simplistic puzzles, Susan finds a key that unlocks a nearby gate. In the next area, Susan meets an old lady known as the Queen of Maggots.
Welcome to my house, Susan Ashworth. I have been waiting for you, my dear. I knew you would turn up one fine day like this.
Who are you?
I have so many names, it's hard to pick one. But I'm curious, who do you think I am?
If there is one complaint I have with the cat lady, it's that sometimes conversations can drag on for fucking ages. And this first conversation with the Queen of Maggots is one of the worst offenders in that regard. These two end up speaking to each other for over 15 minutes, and so little of what they talk about is even relevant to the main plot. Eventually, however, the Queen of Maggots gets to the point and reveals why Susan was brought to this place.
I'll need you to go back and face 5 people. They're not ordinary people, they're very special. Just like you, only in a slightly different way.
So even though Susan still wants to die, the Queen of Maggots refuses to let her rest until she completes an important task for her. She wants Susan to return to the real world and kill 5 people for her. The Queen of Maggots refers to these 5 people as parasites, basically the worst of the worst. Murderers, rapists, cannibals, and so on. Susan will remain immortal until she successfully kills these 5 people. So even if she is killed in the real world, she will simply come back to life a short time later. To be honest, I still don't understand why the Queen of Maggots chooses Susan for this task. Susan isn't a killer, and she certainly isn't the most physically fit person out there either. But whatever, I guess. At first, Susan refuses to kill the parasites, and begs the woman to just let her die instead. The Queen of Maggots refuses, and instead shows Susan the kind of torment she'll have to endure if she doesn't agree to her terms.
Yes, it's you, Susan. Come closer. Say hello.
I don't want to look at it. Haven't I had enough yet? That body in the ambulance. Then the forest. But this is exactly what I was trying to run away from.
Not seeing any other choice, Susan reluctantly agrees to do the Queen's bidding. Before Susan can leave this place and return to the real world, however, she needs to make a sacrifice of soul and a sacrifice of blood. Susan is told that to perform a sacrifice of soul, all she needs to do is to blow out one of the candles on the table. Susan, in her naivety, doesn't realise that blowing out one of these candles will also essentially snuff out a human life in the real world. So she goes ahead and blows out the candle without much thought.
They left me no choice, Alice. Maybe one day you'll forgive me.
See how easy that was?
I love how dark this game's sense of humour can be at times. When tackling heavy topics like suicide and depression, it's important to never go too over the top with dark jokes and humour, and thankfully the cat lady gets the balance just right in my opinion. Susan will also need to make a sacrifice of blood before she is able to leave this place. But thankfully, the Queen of Maggots informed Susan that she will only need to shed a few drops of blood in order to leave, so how bad could it really be? I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty fucking memorable way to reveal a game's title card. The game then cuts to Susan talking to a therapist about various aspects of her life. However, before they are able to tackle any difficult topics, the game cuts again to show Susan lying in a hospital bed in what is apparently the real world. It seems that the Queen of Maggots was correct and Susan did not end up dying from her apparent overdose. Susan is greeted by Liz, a very kind and talkative nurse. Even though Susan is currently in no condition to speak, Liz still feels comfortable opening up to her about very personal aspects of her life, her job, her friends, and even her ex-boyfriend. Liz also informs Susan that a woman claiming to be her daughter entered her apartment and found her lying unconscious on the floor. She then called an ambulance, which is the only reason Susan is still alive. Liz also warns Susan about a doctor working in the hospital named Dr. X, who just so happens to be the psychiatrist Susan was talking to at the beginning of the chapter. Apparently, Dr. X likes to flirt with the female staff and patients at the hospital, and he might have even ended up having an affair with a woman at the hospital, who was subsequently never seen again. Once Susan and Liz have finished their conversation, the game once again cuts back to Susan talking with Dr. X. The doctor wants Susan to open up about her childhood, as he feels it's pivotal to discovering why Susan decided to take her own life. The doctor starts by asking Susan what her relationship with her father was like. If you want, you can answer these questions as if they are being asked directly to you, which is what I ended up doing. Hey, I thought it would be like getting a free therapy session, and I need all the free therapy I can get, you know? You can answer the doctor's questions however you like, and there won't be any ramifications for it. But it is interesting to replay this section and answer differently each time to hear the doctor's ruminations on why Susan's life went in the direction it did. Once Susan has answered some of the doctor's questions, the game randomly cuts back to Susan's hospital bed. The cat lady's story often likes to jump back and forth between the past and the present, which could potentially lead to some players feeling disoriented and confused about what is really going on. I think this was a deliberate choice by the developers, however, to make you feel unsure about what is reality and what is just a figment of Susan's imagination. Regardless, we finally have full control of Susan again, and she is ready to get the hell out of this hospital. Unfortunately, Susan is stopped by some guards on the way out, and is told that she will need a discharge letter before she is able to leave the hospital. Getting that discharge letter will require Susan to solve some very devious puzzles, so I guess I should take a moment to talk about the cat lady's gameplay and puzzle design. The cat lady's game design will feel instantly recognizable to anyone who has ever played a point-and-click adventure game before, but there are some subtle differences that separate the cat lady from many of its contemporaries. For example, the entire game is played using a keyboard. You can't use a mouse to move Susan about or interact with objects. I can't really understand the developers' logic behind forcing everyone to play the game solely with a keyboard. I mean, don't get me wrong, playing the game in this way isn't horrible, but it almost definitely would have been a lot more comfortable with a mouse. The game is also played entirely from a 2D perspective. You can only move Susan to the left or right, and she is unable to move towards or away from the camera. This isn't as big a deal as some people might lead you to believe, however. Susan can still interact with objects in the background or foreground, so it still plays pretty similarly to any other classic point-and-click adventure game. Most of the time, you'll be solving puzzles by picking up items in the environment and using them where necessary. Although some puzzles are a lot more clever than that and require a bit more problem solving from the player. Let me use this hospital section as an example. This will be the only area where I outright spoil some of the game's puzzles, so you needn't worry about me spoiling any late game puzzles in this video. Although if you would still rather not know the solution to any of the game's puzzles, you may skip ahead to this timestamp. So the first thing you'll need to do to get your hands on that discharge letter is to talk to this patient named Anne Burton. Anne is a little...
Hi, are you alright? Can we talk for a minute?
I can't talk. Please, just leave me alone.
Oh, I mean you no harm. I'm trapped here, just like you.
Trapped? I don't know. It's just so hard to think without it.
Yeah. But on the plus side, this means she can probably be manipulated quite easily. Susan says that she is good friends with Anne's mother, but Anne isn't buying it and asks Susan to tell her what her mother's name is. We obviously can't answer her right now since we don't yet know the mother's name, so next what you have to do is go to the bathroom and ring the emergency bell. This will get the attention of a nurse who will give Susan a drug that causes her to fall asleep. However, while asleep, Susan will enter a more nightmarish version of the hospital. By entering the bathroom in this version of the hospital, you will find 2 mirrors with a few letters scrawled on them. But wait, these letters don't make any sense by themselves. That is, until you return to the normal world and run the hot tap in the bathroom sink for a few minutes, which reveals the final letters needed to spell out Anne's mother's name. Pretty smart, eh? And that is actually one of the game's easier puzzles. Anyways, after a lot of work and effort, Susan finally gets her hands on the discharge letter and Anne's name band, which will allow her to finally leave the hospital. However, on her way out, she is stopped by Dr. X, who tells Susan that she can't leave until they have had a proper chat about everything that has happened so far. He needs to make sure that Susan won't attempt to take her own life again. Susan reluctantly agrees, and the next morning she meets Dr. X for her therapy session. We are now caught up on everything that happened before Susan met Dr. X, so there won't be any more time jumps for the rest of the chapter. This next scene really allows us to get to know Susan a lot more, which is important in helping us empathize with her and understand why she is currently so depressed. The doctor begins to ask Susan some pretty personal questions, like whether she is currently living alone and whether she will try to commit suicide again. Susan has no problem answering most of these questions, but as soon as the doctor brings up her husband Eric, she refuses to talk about him.
Finally, I'd like you to tell me about Eric.
Eric?
Yes, your husband. I believe this might be important. What can you tell me about your relationship? What had happened between you two?
It's getting late. Can we talk about it some other time?
Fine. I suppose you've opened enough for one day.
Before the doctor will allow Susan to leave, he has to ask her one more question regarding what apparently happened the previous night. We then get a flashback sequence where Liz tells Susan that they are in great danger and that they must leave the hospital as soon as possible. Susan and Liz make it to an elevator, but instead of taking it to the first floor, Liz instead takes it to the rooftop.
What are we doing on the roof? Liz! What the hell are you doing? And why is there blood on your clothes? Liz!
It's quicker than the stairs. And besides, all the doors are locked anyway. This is the only way out of here. The only escape. Let's both jump. It won't hurt, you'll see.
So it appears that Liz has decided to take her own life. Although maybe by showing that you care about her, you can potentially convince her not to jump. I'm going to let this scene play out as it's pretty powerful stuff.
Did I tell you about my flatmate? Did I tell you what one of them does for a living? If you really listened, you will remember this one.
She's a stripper.
Yes. Or at least that's what I think she is. You've listened. I just wish other people did.
I'm sure they do. It can't be that bad.
What do you know? Why do you care anyway?
I don't want you to make the same mistake I did.
I thought you of all people knew how it feels when you're trapped and you can't trust anyone.
Look, I'm sure there must be someone who cares about you.
My colleagues don't care, my family don't care, even my fucking boyfriend never cared. He said he needed to go find himself. Did I tell you when he broke up with me?
On Valentine's Day.
Yes. Valentine's Day. You've got this one right. But it's not enough. Don't feel responsible. You didn't cause me this pain. This suffering. I have to do this to be free again. Jump with me, Susan. Do it while you still can.
No!
So regardless of whether you were able to answer Liz's questions correctly, she will still end up jumping. She apparently had endured more suffering than she could handle and decided to end it all. It is a genuinely sad moment, especially when you consider how friendly and nice Liz had been to Susan from the beginning. Once Susan has finished recounting the story to the doctor, he allows her to leave. Or does he?
The door is locked?
I plan ahead, Susan. I had a feeling in my gut, and my gut's never wrong. I feel like I really got to know you, though. I'm very sorry you've had such a difficult life. I like your green eyes and your sleek cheekbones. You're a clever girl, Susan, but the sadness has poisoned you for too long. There is no coming back from it. For what it's worth, I would have let you go if it wasn't for Liz.
Susan awakens in a strange room where she is greeted by a mysterious voice who has a riddle he wants her to solve. Two dolls then appear alongside two doors. Behind one of the doors is a prize for Susan, something she has apparently always wanted. To make Susan's choice a little easier, she can ask one of the dolls a single question. The catch is that one of the dolls always tells the truth and the other always lies. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't smart enough to figure this one out, so I didn't end up picking the correct door. However, don't worry, regardless of which door you choose, you will still be able to continue the story just fine. There are no game overs in The Cat Lady. In the next room, Susan is forced to snuff out another life before she is able to come back to life.
You treacherous, dirty bastard. I opened my heart to you, and you stabbed me to death in cold blood. You'll pay for this. I swear you will.
Susan awakens in a strange room surrounded by dead bodies, who appear to be the doctor's previous victims. Susan has no idea where she is, but from all the gruesome imagery on display, it appears that she has found herself in the doctor's fucked up hidden lair. Susan finds the doctor torturing another woman, and this scene is just kinda ridiculous in all the worst ways.
I don't need eyes to enjoy your fear. Scream louder, little bitch. Scream your lungs out. Louder, I said. Yes, this is by far my favorite of songs. Would you like me to dance for you? Unlike you, I know all art needs to be appreciated. Your scream is like a poem without words.
So you are telling me that this doctor, who is clearly very intelligent and empathetic towards his patients, becomes this sick, murderous psychopath at night? Yeah, I don't buy it. Unfortunately, for as much as the Cat Lady gets right, its villains just come across as cartoon characters, which makes it impossible to take them seriously. Anyways, before Susan can kill the doctor, She needs to find a weapon, so she begins searching the area for parts that she can use to craft something deadly. While doing so, however, Susan comes across the dead body of Liz. It appears that the poor girl did not jump off the roof to her death like we all thought. Instead, it looks like she was yet another one of the doctor's victims. So does that mean that when Liz appeared on the roof, she was a ghost or something? It's impossible to know for sure, and the game never outright gives you an answer, and I think I prefer it that way. I like that some plot elements are deliberately left open for interpretation, as it makes the game a lot more interesting to discuss with people online. Anyways, once Susan has found all the parts she needs, she crafts a weapon at a workbench, and then returns to the doctor. I love the way you are allowed to choose the final words the doctor hears before he dies. This is objectively the correct choice, by the way.
Do you believe in karma, Doc?
Susan frees the woman and then returns home to her apartment. Thus ends Chapter 2. Amazingly, as great as that chapter was, the game only gets better from here on out. Chapter 3 begins with Susan arriving home and deciding that she needs a shower, which I learnt the hard way is what you should do immediately when your clothes are dripping in blood. However, just as Susan is about to step into the shower, the power goes out in her apartment. She now needs to find her wallet in order to put money in the electric meter. This next section is kinda bullshit from a gameplay perspective, but it is phenomenal at demonstrating how overwhelming life can be for someone suffering from depression or anxiety. So basically, during this section of the game, there will be 2 meters on screen. The red meter is essentially Susan's anxiety level. When the red bar is full, Susan will have an anxiety attack and will end up crying herself to sleep. So basically like every Saturday night for me. The green bar, however, represents Susan's happiness level. When the green bar is full, Susan will... Well, I don't know, as I've never managed to fill the green bar entirely. You see, the problem with this section is that it's entirely based on trial and error. There is simply no way you will be able to keep Susan from getting anxious on your first playthrough. Every single thing upsets this woman. She sees her monthly bills on a table, her anxiety levels rise. She sees a shadow, her anxiety levels rise. Hell, even when she finds out her milk is out of date, her anxiety levels rise. But I also think that anyone who has ever suffered from anxiety or depression will empathize a great deal with Susan in this chapter. I mean, fuck, even I get anxious every time I need to wash my car. Oh, Jesus Christ, there's so much this time. Oh, fuck, not now. Once Susan has had her shower and cup of coffee, she decides to play her piano, as the sound of music usually draws any nearby cats to her apartment.
Come inside, my darlings. I've missed you.
In all honesty, this scene is kinda heartbreaking. This is the first point in the game where you really get a sense for how completely alone Susan truly is.
You never eat my food, Teacup. Already had your dinner, have you? No, I get it. I know. You're a good friend. The best friend I have, really. The only friend in the whole fucking world. You come over to keep me company and want nothing in return.
Anyways, regardless of what gauge gets filled first, this chapter ends with Susan falling asleep. The next morning, she awakens to the sound of someone knocking on her door.
Hello, Miss Ashworth. How are you? Are you feeling better?
Do I know you?
Of course. You don't remember me. My name is Mitzi Hunt. We met a few days ago. You were out cold at the time. Those pills you had worked real good. You probably had one too many, mind you.
So this woman's name is Mitzi, and she had shown up to inquire about the room Susan had available to let, but instead found her lying unconscious on the floor. She immediately called the ambulance and told them that she was Susan's daughter, so that she wouldn't have to answer a lot of questions. Susan is initially reluctant to let this strange woman be her lodger, but eventually she agrees, as she could do with some extra money. Susan shows Mitzi the spare bedroom, and despite it looking like a literal garbage heap, Mitzi still agrees to take the room.
I'll move some stuff to the side if that's okay with you, but most of it I can use. All I really need is a bed to sleep and a roof over my head to cover me from that rain, and a power outlet so I can charge my laptop. Oh, and someone to watch too. You got a shower, right? I'm dying for a shower.
It's starting to feel like this woman might have ulterior motives for wanting to rent this room, and a few moments later we learn some devastating information about her.
Room's great. So what do you say, Miss Ashworth? I hope you're not going to change your mind about this. Miss Ashworth? What happened? Are you alright?
You're going to die.
I know. Yeah. I know. How did you know, Miss Ashworth? Are you some sort of a psychic? Do you possess some kind of supernatural mind-reading abilities? Or is it just so fucking obvious?
What do you mean? I don't know how you're going to die, but call it a hunch if you like.
It's cool. A hunch. Well, I do. I know exactly. It's already started, as a matter of fact. Do you want to see? I'll show you. Here, Miss Ashworth. Take a good look, because I'm not going to do it again.
Susan and Mitzi soon become good friends, and it's sweet, but also kinda heartbreaking that these two broken, lonely people that have finally found each other will soon be separated due to Mitzi's cancer. While I do find some of the cat lady's dialogue to occasionally be kinda drawn out or cheesy, when it's good, it's really fucking good, and is some of the most well written dialogue I've ever seen in a game.
What kind of cancer is it? Do you mind me asking?
Brain tumor. Her name is glioblastoma.
Haha.
Yep, they're all girls, the way I imagine it. Just look at their names. Lymphoma, melanoma, myeloma, leukemia, sarcoma. Each of them a fucking goddess of death. Beautiful and ruthless.
You might just be right about that, Mitzi. I used to be a nurse. I know a few things about cancer. And I know glioblastoma. She's a real bitch.
Yeah, and yet she gets to be the prom queen before night ends, while I disappear down the back exit.
How long?
They said I had a year. But that was 6 months ago, so... yeah. Not awfully long.
Mitzi finally reveals the real reason she wants to rent Susan's spare room. So it turns out that Mitzi had a boyfriend, who ended up taking his own life after he was essentially talked into doing it by an online forum user who goes by the username The Eye of Adam. Mitzi has managed to track this guy down, and it turns out that he lives in Susan's apartment building. So before she dies, Mitzi just wants to talk with this Eye of Adam to get answers as to why he convinced her boyfriend to take his own life. Mitzi is genuinely one of my favourite characters in any video game I've played. Despite her having an absolutely horrific backstory, she stays upbeat and cheerful in nearly every scene she is in.
I'm not sure I get it. What's the point of that? What did you say it was called again?
For the third time. Social network. Why is it so difficult to remember?
I just find the whole idea really stupid. Why would I want to tell people that I'm having a shit day?
So maybe you would feel better for sharing it with your friends.
But I don't have any friends.
No, you wouldn't with this attitude.
You, on the other hand, seem to have 274 of them? How is that even possible?
Well, what can I say? I'm very likable.
It's impossible not to like her. But despite how optimistic Mitzi usually is, every now and then she will come out with something that is just so fucking heartbreaking that there were a few times that I came close to tears.
Suze, what does depression feel like?
Well, it feels like all I want is to die, but I have to live.
That's funny. Most of the time I feel like I want to live, but I have to die.
Anyways, getting back to the story, Susan and Mitzi hear cats wailing in the street one night for seemingly no reason. Susan decides to investigate the noise and meets a strange man outside her apartment, who was apparently called to the building to take care of the cat problem.
Bloody fog. Can't see a thing. Someone could be getting murdered 2 feet away, and not a soul would notice.
What do you want?
I'm just here on a job, sweetheart. Nothing more. I had a call, you see. There's a cat problem. And apparently, some crazy cat lady keeps making it worse for everyone. A crazy cat lady called Susan, I was told. Now, you ain't gonna like it, sweetheart, but I'm taking you for a ride.
Susan awakens sometime later strapped to a table, with her kidnapper looming over her. Honestly, as creepy and sadistic as this guy appears, he does at least appear to have a soft spot when it comes to animals. I mean, he even offers to take care of Susan's cat.
Well, don't you worry, my sweetest. I know a thing or two about pussycats. I can help. What do you say? Shall I take a good look at this pussy of yours?
Uh-huh. It means what? The kidnapper's wife, I guess, suddenly appears and accuses her husband of flirting with Susan.
Who's this? Did you play with this little bitch behind my back? 'Cause if you did, I swear to God.
So to stop such an event from reoccurring, the woman pours bleach onto Susan's face to disfigure her.
You give me no choice. I can't risk losing him. I have to make sure he won't be attracted to you anymore. You won't need these eyes and this face much longer anyway.
Hey there, gorgeous. I see my old lady brought the bleach again. What a shame. I really liked your eyes. It could have been a start of something very exciting for us, if you know what I mean. She does that every single time. What do they call it? Trust issues. That's it. Well, never mind. Plenty more fish in the sea. I'm not too fussy, but even I have some standards. Ain't gonna touch a bird like you, I gotta be honest, girl. You look like shit. But I wouldn't want you to think I'm not a kind man. Plenty of time until dinner, and you're in pain, so I've brought something to end your suffering. Think of it as an option. I've got this gun here. It's one of my favourites. So I'll just leave it for you here. Feel free to use it. That bullet's meant for you anyway. I'd better go now. We won't want to get caught red-handed again, would we? You naughty minx. What was that? You can't reach it? Well, what did you expect? Life's a real fucker sometimes.
The cat lady is really good at portraying its villains as just the most vile pieces of shit on the planet. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, they're so over the fucking top that it's practically impossible to take any of them seriously. But I'd be lying if I said that it didn't feel really good killing these cons. So Susan is still currently strapped to the table, meaning that it's impossible for her to reach the gun. Thankfully, one of Susan's cats appears and manages to snatch the key that unlocks Susan's restraints. Now that Susan is free, she can finally grab the gun, but since she has been completely blinded by the bleach, the only thing she can think to do with the weapon is use it to take her own life. It's kinda fucked up that Susan is essentially being forced to take her own life in this situation, especially after she had already failed to commit suicide just a few days prior. But at least she knows this time that it won't be permanent.
I'm sorry, Mitzi. I have to break my promise.
So as to be expected, Susan comes back to life shortly after pulling the trigger, and is now hungry for revenge. This next section of the game is easily one of my favourites. You are in this large mansion trying to find a way to escape, and the whole time 2 crazed serial killers are lurking nearby. Even though you can't permanently die in the cat lady, I still found this section very unnerving, especially when the old lady would appear out of nowhere and kill you in seconds. Since Susan has no weapon to kill these parasites with, she decides to make her own, and searches the house for various chemicals she can use to create a poisonous gas that will kill anyone in the immediate vicinity. Once she has all the necessary ingredients, she pours them into a bucket, puts on a gas mask, and enjoys the show. This scene is just so badass. Susan has gone from being the hunted to the hunter. You feel invincible while searching the house for the other crazy psychopath, and once you find her, it's the most cathartic feeling in the world getting to pull that trigger. An incredible way to finish off a truly brilliant chapter. And honestly, that's it. I don't want to spoil any more of the game in this video. The Cat Lady is a truly special game and deserves to be experienced properly. A dumb guy on YouTube with a horrendous Irish accent should not be the one to spoil this story for you. The Cat Lady is usually dirt cheap on Steam and GOG, and it's worth every cent. If any part of this review has piqued your interest in the game, then I implore you to give it a try. The Cat Lady is not a perfect game by any means, but it's a game that will stay with you for a lifetime. And if you have ever experienced depressing or suicidal thoughts, then this game will probably speak to you more than any other piece of media out there. It truly is an experience unlike no other.